My name's Jim Frick. I'm the chairman of the Southern Oregon Resource Alliance. The Ann Basker right next door here, Ann Basker was the founder of Southern Oregon Resource Alliance. And what we stand for is a four-letter word that they just keep forgetting in the American political circles in Washington, D.C., and that has to do with jobs. J-O-B-S, jobs. We believe, like Margaret Goodwin told you, that with 73% of the land owned by the federal government around us, and most of that land being very rich in timber production for our local supposedly sustained economy, which we were promised in an act called the 1937 ONC Act. Now, ONC is not a truck line that runs up and down I-5. ONC is the Oregon and California Railroad that was supposed to come through here and produce jobs and futures and sustainability to local economies. So the federal government, in exchange for taking the railroad that didn't go through here away and those lands, these are crisscrossed every other section across the western side of Oregon, we were supposed to be allowed to take enough timber, sustainable amounts of timber, and never over-harvest because they never wanted it to go past what the growth was on those lands, and return those dollars to the counties to support the taxes that support law enforcement, libraries, and district attorneys and jails. But now, unfortunately, by regulation, the federal government, in their benign knowledge, has gone ahead and they've locked up most of the land around you, and you got special interest preservation groups that all they want to do is have you live in a monument. How many of you want to live in a monument? How many would like to have some jobs back? How many of you are tired of seeing product imported from Canada and China? How many of you believe that everything that we use each and every day in the United States of America has something that has come from Mother Earth? Your food, your fuel, your trees, your house materials, your plumbing supplies, your cars, everything at one point in time came from the earth. What gives these special interest preservation groups the right to take away our resources that are in our backyard, and we're starving our communities to death? Is that wrong or is that wrong? How many of you realize how many jobs have been lost in the last 5 years in the timber resources industry in Western Oregon? Would you believe 55,000? 55,000 jobs have been lost in the timber industry. What is the spider web effect of that industry going away from us? And what have we done, or what are they doing to replace it? Absolutely nothing. Instead, what we're seeing is jobs, total jobs lost in Oregon, by the way, through this legislative session in 2009, I want you to know, were 108,000. We lost 108,000 jobs in Oregon. Guess how many jobs were increased in state government? They had an increase of 6% in the jobs at state government. What do you say? Is this the United States of America that you guys thought that we lived in? Is this the country that you want to take back? Do you have people that will stand up and fight with Americans for Prosperity and Southern Oregon Resource Alliance and try and get our jobs back? You know, I feel sorry for some of the farmers. I've been in the real estate business for 31 years in Josephine County, and I've watched our farms evaporate. Why are they evaporating? They're evaporating because you got special interest preservation groups that are out there saying, we don't think that the beneficial use of the water should go onto your farm to produce a food product that's going to feed mankind. No, we think that the water deserves to stay in the stream, go out to the ocean, so that the Russian trawlers can catch the fish in the 200-mile limit. What do you guys think about that? From the earth, once again, everything you have comes from the earth. Everything. You know, I asked somebody the other day, I said, you know, was one of these special interest environmental guys, you know, and I noticed he was drinking out of an aluminum can. I said, where do you think that aluminum came from? He goes, the store. Oregonians' employment is down by over 20% statewide right now. Are we not going to stand up and fight for our jobs to come back to Josephine County? How many of you think it's a good idea to just leave the forests out there alone, let them burn naturally? I'm sure that the owls, they just kind of cruise right on out of there to the forest that isn't burning. We didn't lose any spotted owls during the 500,000 acre Biscuit Fire, did we? No, I think most of them, they're migrating into the urban areas here so that they can cohabitate with you. I get so sick and tired of fighting this issue. I've been fighting this for 30 years for the timber industry. I've seen the timber industry hire people with family wage jobs, donate monies back to the high schools and middle schools and grammar schools and churches in our communities. I've seen them go out of their way for the Boys and Girls Club. I've seen them go out of their way for all of these different clubs and organizations and kids programs. But you know what? We don't have them hardly at all anymore to be able to do those donations because the state and federal government have closed them down. Do you want access to your federal lands? Yeah! Do you want the federal government to keep closing roads so you have no more access on your quote-unquote public lands? What are we going to do about it? Fight! So what I'd like to hear a chant is fight! 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 I hope they hear that all the way to Washington, D.C. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the people that traveled from Sacramento, California, all the way across the United States, stopping in all these different cities, picking up people along the route, and it was really interesting. I was listening to Dick Armey last night. He said, it was amazing to me. He says, I saw families in Arkansas who weren't planning on traveling with us, but they asked their bosses if they could take the time off. They closed up shop and they traveled with this large group to Washington, D.C. I'm watching the internet this morning. I turn on, of course, my favorite Fox, and I started looking at how many people were at the Tea Party in Washington, D.C. It's got to be well over 1 million people. Do you think the silent majority is standing up and telling Washington, D.C. what we think? Yes! Are you going to keep fighting? Yes! Are you going to keep coming to these tea parties? Yes! Please, any of you that have not signed these tax petitions out here that are registered voters at the red tablecloths, that's where the petitions are at. We'd sure appreciate you guys coming up here and doing that. I got to tell you, living in Josephine County since 1976, I've never seen this county in such a sad state of affairs. And I tried to ask myself, why have we gotten to this point? Why is it that we've got 3 commissioners that sit up there, and you talk to them and you say, what are you guys and gal going to do to help get some industry back in Josephine County? What are you doing to promote industry? And most of the time they're sitting there and they're going, well, we're really trying, and we believe in the timber industry and we believe in jobs, but, we need more help. Well, this is the grassroots organization that needs to go in mass to Salem and to Washington, D.C. and tell them we want our jobs back. Yes! Why is it that the President of the United States has been spending so much time overseas, or his administration, be it in North Korea or China or Russia or Pakistan or wherever they're going? How come they're not coming here to communities like this and listening to the people in the tea parties? Do we want that? Yes! Do they owe that to us? Yes! Do they work for us? Yes! Do you like the way they're spending your tax dollars? No! What are we going to do about it? Fight! 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 Fight!